The next step is to place your body copy. So what we need to do first is divide our page into 2 to 3 columns and adjust our margins and our gutters as needed. So when we go to InDesign, we want to make sure that all of our pages are selected, and then we're going to go up to Layout, Margins, and Columns. So we're going to play with columns first. So we don't want one column that's going to be too long of a line length. You want at least 2 or 3. We also need to include a gutter. So I probably wouldn't do less than an 1/8 of an inch. I wouldn't do more than 1/4 of an inch because it gets a little too wide. So I'm going to set this up to do 3 columns, or again, you can set this up to do 2 columns. It just depends on your design. I also want to adjust my margins as well. So 1/4 of an inch margins is in a magazine is not going to be conducive to the look of the magazine. It's going to look too tight. So we want to make sure that this little box is unchecked, because what that's going to do is there's going to be a little line through it. What that's going to do is allow you to change your margins independently. So you'll see that this is a little bit different than previous projects. Before, you'd have a top margin, a bottom margin, a left margin, and a right margin. We no longer have a left and a right margin because now we're dealing with a spread. So we have an inside margin and an outside margin. Your inside margin is here or here, and then your outside margin is here or here. So you're just going to have to decide, maybe look at your magazine, articles in your magazine, and see if they have kind of a standard margin that they use. But more than likely, I would say you're probably going to have a little bit of a wider margin at the bottom, especially if you're going to include a folio, so like the page numbers and things like that. I'd say you'd probably have about a 1/2 inch margin. The top is going to kind of depend on how you want to lay that out. So I'm just going to put a 1 inch margin in here just for demonstration purposes. And then our inside margin, there is going to be a fold here, so you want to kind of take that into account. So you might want to do a little bit of a wider margin just so that we don't lose any of that body copy in the fold. And then that outside margin, again, we don't want text going all the way to the edge, so I might widen that margin up. And I'm going to put, let's see what 1 inch does in here. I think that looks pretty good. Again, these are up to you, but you want to keep those margins consistent throughout all of your pages. Then we're going to place our body copy. So you should have your article. Let me pull my article up. Need to find it. So I saved this in a folder called editorial design. So here's my article that I copied from a website. Now when I copied this, some of my text was larger. I know that this is going to be larger because that's my intro or my kicker. You might not have that, but like some of the subheads were larger. So let me kind of show you. Let me see if I can find that. So I did fast food articles. And here is that website that I found. And I'm just going to copy all of this. So I think that's the total of it. And I'll just do a new doc. I'm going to place this in here, and I want to show, oh, that's not what I copied. Let me go back. Copy. Paste that. There we go. So you can see when I pasted this that it doesn't quite look the same. So I've got some, I'm going to get rid of these because I don't really think that I need those. I'm going to get rid of this picture and the caption for that picture. So I'm going to use my own pictures. I'm going to get rid of this picture and its caption. Trust me, this will help if you do this beforehand. And then this was an ad, so I'm going to get rid of that. This was an ad. And then we had the summary. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to select everything. I might keep this larger, but I'll show you kind of what happens with that. I'm going to go ahead and select all of the body copy, and you can see that there's some subheads in there that are a little bit larger. I'm going to make this all 12-point font, and I'm going to make it all the same font. Really doesn't matter. Any of these top ones are pretty readable. I'm just going to pick Arial for right now. And I'm going to make sure all of my text is black, because some of it you can see is blue. So I want to make sure that all of my text is black. So now when I click off of this, you can still see that I still have my subheads, but trust me, you're going to want to get those smaller because it's going to be a pain to fix in InDesign.